Hi folks, now let's get back to our discussion on written warnings. We've already talked a little bit about the purpose of the written warning. Now I want to look at things that we need to identify or make sure are clear in the written warnings. It should be very clear to the employee the standards that needed to be met that they didn't meet. Okay, it should also be set out in the written warning that the employee was aware of the standards. So don't forget, these standards were set when you had your performance review. If you've had previous meetings with the employee after their initial review to remind them of the fact that the performance standards, even after we had a performance improvement plan in place, weren't met, those standards need to be reiterated or documented somewhere. So you need to make sure every step of the way that the employee was informed, and you can prove that they received this documentation to improve their performance and what those standards were that they had to meet. Okay, and you also have to make sure that in your correspondence to your employee that it did indicate that a violation of the standard or failing to meet that standard, and that opportunity and that an opportunity was given to improve. So you need to make sure that you go on record to say your performance to date still has not met the standard that we agreed to at our meeting at this date, right? And that you can prove that meeting took place. You've written documentation of it, and that opportunity was given for you to improve. So you might turn around and say, well, we had a meeting on July 20th, 2013, where we agreed on the standard. It is now November, 28th, 2013. We had 2 meetings before that. These were the standards, or this is what we agreed we were going to do to improve. Things still haven't improved, and this is what we gave you to improve. We put you on training, we gave you a mentor, I made myself available to you, you never asked any questions, but we gave you an opportunity to improve, and this is what we agreed upon that the opportunities to improve would be. So the idea is to make sure that in your written warnings you have documented everything. So if you said you would provide something to help the employee improve, make sure that you've documented proof that you provided it, right? So that kind of thing. So it's very important that you have something in writing and that you can prove your case. Now, who's responsible for the whole process of performance management? Well, clearly the HR department is responsible, right? Because they have to develop the appraisal forms. They have to provide performance management training to their managers. That's the person who's doing the appraising. They also have to monitor the use of the system. So the HR department wants to make sure that on a regular basis they have performance appraisals on file for all of their employees. And again, these can be set up electronically or, paper form. The responsibility of the line manager or the immediate supervisor is that they need to provide performance feedback on a regular basis. It doesn't just have to be once or twice a year. When a manager or supervisor sees that performance is lacking in any way, they can, throw up the card and say, hey, we need to meet. Something's not going the way it needs to, and we need to figure out a way to improve it. And the manager or supervisor also needs to make sure that they perform that appraisal fairly and objectively. That's part of the reason why HR gives performance management training to managers, right? And so that they know how to conduct a fair and objective appraisal. I worked for a company and I thought it was really interesting that part of the training that was given was not just to managers, but it was also given to employees. So we would show them videos and stuff of employees reacting poorly to performance reviews and how the employee could have reacted a little bit differently or better. We also, so we would have videos of appraisals where the manager was being fabulous, really did everything right, and the employee was reacting very poorly. And then we had it in the reverse, whereby the manager was reacting, was not doing a very good job of the appraisal, and the employee was reacting very good to it, right? But the idea was just to show the employee how they could manage the process a little bit better, okay, on their side. But it was a good videos that we had so that employees could also assess how they were reacting to the appraisal, and not just how managers could do it better in the eyes of the employee, but also how the employee could have reacted differently now through the eyes of an employee as part of the training. So it was really kind of interesting when they did that. So the last 2 steps that we're going to talk about